Hello YouTube, this is DIY Electronics, and today I want to talk to you about power supplies. I know I haven't really made any videos on power supplies, and this is going to be one of the first ones. And this one, the only thing that is required is an old PSU or computer power supply. This right here is the benchtop power supply that I use pretty much every video that I make. I would say it's lab grade because it's a switching power supply. No, you don't have control over current or you don't have an adjustable voltage, but you do have your fixed voltages that can be played with, and you got anything from negative 12 volts to 212 volts coming out of here, which can be combined to get 24 volts, or you can combine 12 volts and negative 5 volts and get 17 volts, or you can combine two negative voltages like so. Turn this on. I'll just go ahead and demonstrate that. So negative 12 volts and 12 volts. Right there is 23 volts, 12 volts and negative 5 volts is 16.5 volts. Negative 5 volts and 12 volts is 6.71 volts. Negative 12 volts and 5 volts is negative 16 volts. So I mean, there's a bunch of different combinations. You have 3 volts here also, so you can combine that with your 12 volts and get about 15 volts. So I mean, you can play around with these and add them and subtract them and get different voltages for your different projects. And you have plenty of current that you can draw out of these, and depending on the wattage of the power supply, depends on really how much current you can really draw from these. To draw a lot of current from one of these, you're going to have to you won't be able to just use one wire like I have going on here. You'd actually need to combine, say 3 or 4 of these red wires or yellow wires to get the 1 amp or 2 amps or how many ever amps you need to pull out of it, so that you're not going to burn up one wire. So anyways, let's jump into it. This is how I have my power supply set up. I have a little bar up here that shoots the wires out so I can access them, and to access them I simply use a little clip. These right here, I love these little things. I just clip them right on there. Originally, the ideal that I had was this, and this was what I used for a long time, and then finally went away from it. You just plugged them in where you needed your voltages, and you could have multiple wires, and it's a neater setup, and you just use automotive little plugs, and then you got all the voltages coming out. And sometimes I do still use it, but for the most part I use just little clips, little alligator clips, and they clip right on whatever voltage you need. And if you want to make sure that nothing's going through, you can just slide the rubber over it. You don't have to worry about them touching anything, etc. So let's jump into the project. This one right here, I simply drilled holes in the top, added the little jumper bar here, and on the front I added 2 LEDs. One that's called the standby LED, which is on whenever it's plugged in, or the switch on the back is on, right there. And then I added a switch, which will turn it on so that you can use it, or turn it off when you don't need to use it. That I'm not going to explain the lights and stuff, but I am just going to explain how you can take a computer power supply like this one with all the wires and have a benchtop power supply in about 10 seconds. So you take this right here, and if you look on your main 24 pin header, or 20 pin, or whatever size header you got, you'll have a green wire, this little guy right there. So follow that green wire up and you plug this into there, and then you take the other end of your jumper and plug it into a negative terminal, which is one of the black wires, like so. And then you take your power cable and plug it into the back of this. And if you see, the fan isn't moving, but when I flip the switch, voila. So now we have our power supply. And just to test it, throw the meter on. And the nice thing about these is little cables here is you can actually just plug this right in. And so now we can plug into our 12 volts, which is the yellow wires, our 5 volts, which is the red wires, and then on this header over here you have the orange wires, which are going to be your 3.3 volts, and then you got your blue wire over here, which is going to be your negative 12 volts, and then your white wire right there is going to be your negative 5 volts, and that's about it. And knowing the basics here, you can then take and decide how you want to lay out or how you want to make your connectors for this. You really wouldn't even have to take this all apart. You could or take the power supply apart if you don't feel comfortable going in there and messing with the high voltage caps and stuff. You can simply, turn the power supply off, drain it, cut the wires, cut them off where you want them, and then if you're not going to use some of them, cut them and put a little shrink wrap around the end of them so that you don't cause a short and mess up your new power supply. But cut them off, add you a some kind of system so you can access the wires, and you have a benchtop power supply, and it's reliable. It's because the newer power supply units are all switching power supplies, which means they maintain a certain amount of current, they maintain a certain voltage within a tolerance, and you have a lot of watts to pull out. Unlike some of the power supplies that you may make or build with a transformer and a bridge rectifier and some capacitors, this right here is going to maintain a voltage and stay within a tolerance of that voltage, and you won't have to worry about, when you put a large source on it, drawing the voltage way down, which is what a lot of people experience when they first start out. Is they try making these small little power supplies, and then they connect a project to it and it starts acting funny because they're not getting enough current to the project and it's not maintaining that voltage. So anyways, that's the basics on building your own computer power supply or benchtop power supply. Thanks.